Look at yourself right now. Look at the person you've become. Are you proud of that person, or do you see someone who has settled? Someone who has let fear dictate their steps, who has bowed to weakness, who has traded greatness for comfort? Because I'll tell you this, there is a war happening inside you, a war between the version of you that wants to rise and the version that clings to excuses. And if you don't kill that weak version of yourself, it will kill every dream, every ounce of potential, and every calling on your life. Some of you have been losing this battle for years. You make promises, tomorrow I'll change. But tomorrow comes and you stay the same. You say you want strength, but when hardship comes, you run. You say you want success, but when sacrifice is required, you quit. You say you want to be different, but deep down you're terrified of what it will cost. So let me ask you, how long will you let weakness rule you? How long will you keep making excuses, waiting for life to change while doing nothing? How long will you let the weaker version of yourself win? Because today, right now, you have a choice. You either listen and step into something greater, or you walk away and stay the same. There is a war inside of you, a war that has been raging for far too long, and the enemy is not out there. It's not your circumstances, not your past, not the people who doubted you. No, the real enemy is the one looking back at you in the mirror, the version of you that has settled for less, the version of you that makes excuses, that complains, that hesitates when it should act. That version is the greatest threat to your life, your purpose, and your future. And until you decide to put it to death, you will never become who you were meant to be. You feel it, don't you? That constant pull between who you are and who you know you could be. That voice inside that tells you to get up, to fight, to stop living beneath your potential. But just as quickly another voice speaks, the voice of weakness. It tells you to stay comfortable. It tells you there's always tomorrow. It tells you that change is too hard, that discipline is too painful, that you're fine just the way you are. And if you listen to that voice long enough, you start believing it. You start justifying your stagnation. You start defending the very thing that is destroying you. You don't see it as destruction because it happens slowly. Weakness is subtle. It doesn't show up all at once. It creeps in one excuse at a time, one compromised decision, one moment of saying, I'll do it later, one day of slacking off, and before you know it, what used to bother you, what used to convict you, now feels normal. You get comfortable in mediocrity. You get used to weakness. You stop expecting more from yourself. And worst of all, you start to believe that this is just who you are. But that's a lie. You were never meant to be weak. You were never meant to bow to excuses. You were never meant to walk through life half alive, watching others rise while you remain stuck in the same patterns year after year. But the truth is, no one is coming to rescue you. No one is going to fight this battle for you. You are the only one who can kill that version of yourself. And you will never do it until you stop making peace with it. Too many people try to negotiate with their weakness. They try to manage it, to tame it, to work around it. But you cannot negotiate with something that is trying to destroy you. You cannot make peace with something that is keeping you bound. That weak version of yourself, it doesn't need to be comforted. It doesn't need to be explained away. It doesn't need to be excused. It needs to be killed. You kill it every time you choose discipline over laziness. Every time you silence the voice that tells you to quit. Every time you push past the feelings that say you're too tired, too afraid, too unqualified. You kill it when you stop being driven by emotions and start being driven by conviction. Do you think warriors feel like fighting every day? Do you think champions feel motivated all the time? Do you think the strongest people in this world got there by doing what was easy? No. They got there because they learned something most people never will, that their feelings don't matter. Their feelings don't get a vote. Their emotions don't dictate their actions, because they know that weakness disguises itself as comfort. It whispers, just take a break, just sleep a little longer, just skip today, and before you know it, you've wasted another year, another opportunity, another chance to become the person you were meant to be. And some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because you've been making the same excuses for years. You've been waiting for the right time. You've been telling yourself you'll change when things get easier. But let me tell you something. Things will never get easier. Life will not wait for you to be ready. If you keep waiting, you will never start. And if you never start, you will look back one day and realize that the person you could have been, the life you could have lived, was buried beneath every excuse you ever made. You don't have time to waste. You don't have time to keep playing games. That weak version of yourself has been running the show for too long, and it's time to put an end to it. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Because every second you delay, that weaker version of you gets strong. It digs its roots deeper into your life. It makes quitting feel more natural. It makes laziness feel more comfortable. It makes compromise feel normal. And if you don't stop it, it will not stop itself. It will take everything from you, your potential, your purpose, your future. So today, right now, you make a decision. You either kill that weak man inside of you, or you let him kill you. Because make no mistake, this is a battle. And the only question that remains is who is going to win. Some of you have spent your whole life waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for things to line up, waiting for motivation to strike, waiting for some sign to tell you it's time to move. And that's why you're stuck. That's why you're still the same person you were last year, 5 years ago, because you've been excusing your weakness instead of confronting it. You need to hear this today. Weakness is not a condition. It is a choice. You are not weak because of your circumstances. You are not weak because of your past. You are weak because you have allowed yourself to be. You have let your comfort outweigh your purpose. You have let your excuses become your reality. And until you decide that enough is enough, nothing will change. Some of you have built an entire identity around your excuses. You blame your upbringing, your environment, your lack of opportunities. You say things like, if I had their resources, their background, their connections, then I would be different. No, you wouldn't. Because the problem is not what you don't have. The problem is that you have made peace with your own mediocrity. You have found a way to justify your lack of discipline. You have convinced yourself that your weakness is out of your control. But I'm telling you today, it is in your control. You have the power to change. You have the ability to rise. But as long as you keep making excuses, you will stay exactly where you are. You will watch others pass you by, not because they are better than you, not because they had it easier, but because they refuse to tolerate the excuses that you have been living in. How long will you keep telling yourself the same lies? How long will you keep saying, I'll start tomorrow? How long will you keep waiting for motivation before you take action? Motivation is nothing. It is a fleeting feeling that comes and goes, and if you build your life around it, you will never accomplish anything. The people who win in this life are not the ones who feel motivated. They are the ones who show up and do the work, whether they feel like it or not. And I know some of you are thinking, but I've tried before. I've tried to change. I've tried to be better. No, you haven't. You have tried until it became uncomfortable. You have tried until it required sacrifice. You have tried until it no longer felt easy. And then, instead of pushing through, you ran back to your excuses. And that is why you are still the same. You see, everyone wants to change until they realize what change demands. Everyone wants strength until they realize it requires suffering. Everyone wants success until they see the price they have to pay. But let me tell you the truth. You will never be great as long as you avoid pain. You will never be strong as long as you run from discomfort. Because real change does not happen in the moments when it's easy. It happens in the moments when every part of you wants to quit, but you keep going anyway. Some of you have been lied to. You've been told that if something is meant for you, it will be easy. That if you're on the right path, everything will fall into place. That if you just wait long enough, life will work itself out. And that's why you're losing. Because you have believed a fantasy instead of reality. The reality is that life does not reward those who wait. It rewards those who fight. It rewards those who refuse to back down. It rewards those who show up day after day, even when they are tired, even when they are broken, even when everything in them is screaming to quit. You want to know what separates the weak from the strong? It's not talent, it's not intelligence, it's not luck. It's one simple thing. Who is willing to suffer more? Who is willing to pay the price? Who is willing to wake up early, stay up late, push harder, endure longer? Because those are the ones who win. Those are the ones who rise. But some of you are still holding on to your excuses like they are your lifeline. You are still telling yourself that you will change when things get easier. Let me save you some time. They won't. Life will not suddenly become convenient for you. There will never be a perfect time. The only thing that will change is you. And the only way that happens is if you stop making excuses and start doing the work. You don't need another pep talk. You don't need another motivational speech. You don't need another sign. You need to make a decision right here, right now. Will you keep living as a slave to your own weakness, or will you rise? Will you keep waiting for life to hand you something, or will you take control? Because at the end of the day, that is the only thing that matters. Not what you intended to do, not what you hoped would happen, but what you chose to do. And some of you need to hear this. You have wasted enough time. You have delayed your own progress for too long. There is no more time for excuses. There is no more time for hesitation. If you do not kill the version of yourself that keeps making excuses, it will kill every dream, every goal, every future you could have had. So today you make a decision. No more waiting, no more delaying, no more excuses, because either you kill your weakness or your weakness kills you. You say you want to be strong, you say you want to be great, but the moment life gets hard, you run. The moment things don't go your way, you complain. The moment it requires real sacrifice, you start making excuses, and that is why you are still weak. That is why you are still stuck, because you have not yet embraced the one thing that will change you, the fire. Strength is not built in comfort. It is not built when everything is easy. It is not built when you are given what you want. Strength is forged in suffering. It is formed in the moments when you are tired, broken, ready to quit, but you keep going anyway. You cannot become who you were meant to be without walking through pain. But some of you have spent your whole life avoiding it. You have done everything you can to escape difficulty, to take the easy path, to make sure you never feel discomfort. And that is why you are weak. Because strength does not come from avoiding struggle. It comes from enduring it. It comes from standing in the fire, feeling the weight of it, and refusing to back down. It comes from pushing through even when your body screams for relief, even when your mind begs you to quit. It comes from suffering well. But that is the problem, isn't it? You don't want to suffer. You don't want to go through pain. You want to be strong without struggle, disciplined without sacrifice, great without hardship, but that is not how it works. There is no shortcut. There is no easy path. If you want to be different, if you want to be stronger, if you want to kill that weak version of yourself, you must be willing to suffer. And not just any suffering, the kind you choose, the kind you step into willingly. Because listen to me, suffering will come either way. You will suffer if you choose discipline, but you will also suffer if you choose weakness. The difference is that one kind of suffering makes you stronger and the other kind destroys you. You think waking up early, pushing your limits, denying yourself comfort is suffering? Try living with regret. Try looking back on your life and realizing you wasted it. Try knowing you had the potential to be great, but you were too afraid of discomfort to do what was necessary. That is real suffering. That is the kind of pain that will eat you alive. But that's the path some of you are choosing right now. Every time you say it's too hard, you choose suffering. Every time you quit when things get tough, you choose suffering. Every time you walk away from what you know you should do, you are setting yourself up for a life of regret. Because weakness never stays small. It grows, it takes over, and one day you wake up and realize you have become a slave to your own fear. And don't think for a second that life will just let you stay comfortable forever. No, life will break you. Life will test you. You will suffer whether you like it or not. The question is not whether you will go through pain. The question is whether that pain will make you or destroy you, whether it will forge you into something stronger or leave you bitter, broken, and defeated. So why not choose the suffering that transforms you? Why not embrace the pain that builds you instead of the pain that cripples you? Why not walk into the fire instead of running from it? Because the fire will come either way. The difference is whether you stand in it willingly or whether it consumes you against your will. You say you want to be different. You say you want to be strong, then prove it. Stop running from the struggle. Stop looking for an easy way out. Stop expecting life to hand you anything. Because nothing worth having comes without a price. Nothing great is ever achieved without sacrifice. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you will be free. But some of you are still hesitating, still waiting for things to get easier. still hoping that one day you won't have to suffer. That day will never come. The world does not care about your feelings. Life does not stop because you are tired. You either endure or you break, and the only way you will ever rise is if you learn to suffer well. You need to feel the weight of discipline. You need to feel the sting of sacrifice. You need to feel what it's like to want to quit but refuse to do it, because that is where real strength is born. That is where the weak man dies. That is where you stop being controlled by fear, by feelings, by weakness, and start becoming who you were meant to be. So what will you do? Will you keep avoiding the fire? Will you keep running from struggle, or will you embrace it? Because I promise you this, if you run now, you will run for the rest of your life. If you break now, you will break every time things get hard. If you quit now, quitting will become your nature. But if you stand, if you endure, if you push through, there is nothing that can stop you, no weakness that can hold you, no fear that can rule you, no suffering that can break you. So choose today, choose your suffering, because either you kill your weakness or your weakness kills you. You were not made to live a life of passivity. You were not made to drift through your days, to exist without purpose, to breathe without fire in your soul. But that is exactly what so many of you are doing. You wake up, you go through the motions, you waste time, and you call it living. But deep down, you know this is not what you were meant for. There is something inside of you that was built to fight, built to rise, built to conquer. But that part of you is dying. Every day that you let weakness rule, every day that you bow to laziness, every day that you allow fear to dictate your choices, that fire inside of you gets smaller until one day it is nothing but a flicker, and eventually it goes out completely. The world is not kind to the weak. Life does not favor the passive. You think things will get better just because you want them to? You think success, strength, discipline, and power will just happen to you? No, the world will crush you if you are weak. It will walk over you, it will break you, and if you are not willing to fight back, you will be left behind, another person who could have been great but chose to remain small. Because let's be honest, that's what this is, a choice. Weakness is not something that happens to you. It is something you allow. And every day that you refuse to change, every day that you let your excuses win, you are choosing weakness. You are choosing failure. You are choosing to live beneath your potential. Some of you have spent your whole lives watching others rise while you stay the same. You see people doing what you know you could do, achieving what you know you were capable of, and yet you remain stuck. Why? Because you have not yet decided to fight. You have not yet decided to burn for something greater. You have not yet demanded more from yourself. And that is the difference between those who rise and those who don't. It is not talent, it is not luck, it is not even opportunity, it is fire. It is the decision to wake up every day and refuse to be anything less than what you were made to be. It is the mindset that says, I will not stop. I will not slow down. I will not bow to comfort, fear, or weakness. I will rise. But some of you are still playing games. You talk about what you want. You make plans. You write down goals. But when the time comes to act, you hesitate. You let distractions pull you away. You let comfort keep you from moving forward. And you wonder why your life never changes. You wonder why you're still in the same place while others are moving ahead. The answer is simple. You have no fire. You have no urgency. You are waiting for something to happen instead of making it happen. And as long as you live like that, you will lose, because the world is not going to wait for you. Life is not going to pause while you figure things out. Every moment that you waste, someone else is getting stronger, someone else is putting in the work, someone else is building the life that you claim you want. And when you finally wake up and decide to get serious, it may be too late. So let me ask you, what are you waiting for? What excuse do you still have left? What lie are you still believing that tells you tomorrow is guaranteed? Because it isn't. You don't have time to waste. You don't have time to be passive. You don't have time to keep playing it safe, hoping that somehow everything will work out. It won't, not unless you take control, not unless you wake up and set yourself on fire. You need to live with intensity. You need to wake up with urgency. You need to carry yourself like someone who knows their time is running out, because that's the truth. You don't have forever, and if you do not burn now, you never will. If you do not decide today to kill that weak version of yourself, you will carry it with you until your last breath. And that is the greatest tragedy of all. Not that you weren't capable, not that you didn't have the ability, but that you never made the choice, that you let excuses, distractions, and weakness steal the life you could have had. So what will it be? Will you stay the same, making the same excuses, watching your life slip through your fingers, or will you stand up and fight? Will you grab hold of your purpose and refuse to let go? Because if you want to win, you must burn. You must wake up every day with fire in your soul, with urgency in your spirit, with a relentless drive to dominate every weakness that still lingers inside of you. Because either you kill your weakness or your weakness kills you.